Another nice summer day. And I don't know if it's too hot or just perfect for some of us, but it's summer and it's a good day. So uh, since my kids have gotten out of school, we've been doing what we call morning walk. So when we all get up, we'll go on a walk. By our house, there's nice walking trails and a bike path and that sort of thing. We usually go on the bike path, and we have a certain route that we take. And for about a 2 to 3 week period, there was a mystery to be solved. Mystery that came to be known as the poop bandit. The poop bandit. Now, the poop bandit is, we named it that with reference to Home Alone. Remember the bad guys in Home Alone were called the wet bandits? The wet bandits were called the wet bandits not because they stole water from people's house, it's because they left a huge amount of water in people's houses, flooded it, So the poop bandit, in our definition, is someone who leaves poop on the walking path, on the bike path. And so the first time this happened, we came upon something that was not more than a few hours old. And if it wasn't human excrement, we had a hard time telling the difference, making the distinction. This was disgusting, right? And then, the next day, there's another one somewhere further down the path in a different spot. These may or may not have been closer resemblance to dog excrement, but we're talking, day after day for several, at least 2 weeks in a row, there's a new deposit by the poop bandit. And every day we're like, oh, what has the poop bandit done this time? Where is it going to be? And what size and shape and what's going to happen. And, I hope that no one stepped in it or there's no bike tire tracks through it. But whenever we get to it, you see it from a distance. And we always have the same response, all of us, myself and my kids. We come to it and we stop and we all say, oh, sick, gross, disgusting. Oh, the poop bandit. And then we do something. We have to keep going. So we make a move to get around it somehow. And we go as far away from it as we can. The farthest we can be away from the poop, but still be on the trail to get to where we're going. And that was our method for days and days in a row because of the poop bandit. And so that was our experience. Now, in recent days, I think the poop bandit has gone into retirement, or at least isn't active currently, so maybe he's on vacation or something. But so it's been a lot easier walking lately. But that story, those situations where you come upon what the poop bandit has left for you, this is kind of the reaction that Jesus is communicating when he's talking about the story in Luke chapter 10 that we're looking at today. Right after the text where the lawyer says, what do I need to do to inherit eternal life? Jesus says, I don't know, what do you think? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus says, yeah, that's exactly right. That's the one. And then it says in verse 29 of Luke 10, but wishing to justify himself, he said to Jesus, well, who is my neighbor? Everyone's on board with loving neighbor. Neighbor is the person who is easy to love. So this guy is saying, all right, well, who is my neighbor? Who am I supposed to love? And Jesus then offers this total redefinition of who neighbor is. Neighbor is not the person who it's easy to love. The neighborhood boundaries are not just the group of people, small as it is, who are just like you exactly the same beliefs, interests, practices, habits, that sort of thing. The neighborhood's a little bit bigger than that. So Jesus tells this story, one that we've all heard, in verse 30. A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, fell among the robbers. They stripped him and beat him, went away, leaving him half dead. By chance, a priest was going down on that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. Kind of an understatement, but everyone there knew what he was talking about. We'll get to that in a second. Likewise, a Levite, also when he came to the place, he saw him, and he passed by on the other side. Same thing. But a Samaritan, who was on a journey, came upon him. When he saw him, he passed by on... Actually, it says something else. He felt compassion on him. A Samaritan. And he came to him and bandaged up his wounds, and pouring oil and wine on them. He put him on his own beast, brought him to an inn, took care of him. On the next day he took out 2 denarii, and he gave them to the innkeeper and said, "Take care of him. Whatever more you spend, when I return, I'll repay you." And that's the end of the story. And Jesus says, "Which of these 3 do you think proved to be a neighbor to the man who fell into the robber's hands?" And he said, "The one who showed mercy toward him." And Jesus said, "Go and do likewise." Go and do the same. The priest and the Levite come upon this man, and they might as well have been encountering poop on the path. Same reaction that we have when we're on the morning walk, and the poop bandit has struck again. They look at it, and it's not necessarily anger or hatred. I mean, Jesus doesn't say they went up and kicked the guy and said, "Oh, I'm so glad you're pretty much dead, and I hate you, and you deserve this." They're not mad or hating him. This guy is just eliciting a form of disgust. There's blood involved. Could be a dead body. Don't know exactly who the body is. Probably one of us. Probably a Jew. But you never know. But it doesn't matter. This is now something that can contaminate. And we have laws and ritual purity interests here at heart, and we're not going to risk contamination of this thing that is disgusting. And so we pass by on the other side, get as far away from it as we can. Not so with the Samaritan. The Samaritan clearly sees someone who is other, who is different, but has a different response. This is a commentary on disgust and mercy. 20-some years ago, I remember being at the ACU lectureships, and this guy, psychology professor at ACU, Richard Beck, was given a presentation, and he had come across his work by Rosen, I don't remember how to pronounce his name. The leading expert on the psychology of disgust. Okay, and Richard Beck was totally into this, and he dove into it and has written on it from a religious Christian perspective as well, which is his interest, synthesis of psychology and Christianity. But disgust, which literally means a bad taste. And he talked about how Rosen did these experiments with apple juice. And he would put a cup of apple juice in front of someone and then drop a cockroach into it, stir it around, take the cockroach out, and offer it to them. "Would you like to drink this?" And of course, like 0% of people were willing to drink it after a disgusting cockroach was in the apple juice 1 second ago. So he said, okay, well, we'll put the cockroach in, stir it up, take out the cockroach, and then you will watch me as I take this through this like 10-point purification process and distill it and boil it and all this stuff, and then offer the apple juice to the person. And he noted that still, overwhelming majority of people will not drink this apple juice. Even though logically they can know, well, there is nothing of contamination in here. There's no part of the cockroach left in here. But experientially, emotionally, they can't get over the fact that there was a cockroach in this at one point. And so that emotion of disgust is so powerful that it even can trump our own logic, our own rationale at times. Disgust is about boundaries. It's about otherness. It marks objects as foreign or exterior, and then thereby dangerous or a threat to me. Sometimes that's served humans really well, right? Sometimes it's good to be disgusted, like when you come upon the stuff from the poop bandit. Yeah, that tells my body, yeah, we don't want to be near this. We don't want to eat it. We don't want to be by it. But sometimes, it's not as, it doesn't serve us the best. And sometimes it's just neutral. We had a party yesterday at Captain Sunday, or just a little gathering for our baseball team. Kind of after the season, let's get together, have some ice cream, and hang out and celebrate. So we did that, and I noted that most of the kids who are eating ice cream, every once in a while, would get some on their fingers, and guess what they would do? They would lick their fingers. Maybe you've done it too. Maybe I have too. And on the end of your finger is this fingernail. And they were willing to put their fingernail inside their mouth to lick this ice cream. And you've done it too. I know you have. So have I. So the end of my fingernail, I put it into my mouth, fine. If you've ever clipped your fingernails, right, and then you have these clippings here, how often do we end up putting those into our mouth? Now we're getting disgusted, right? Well, 1 second ago, it was a part of me. It was on my body. I would lick it, I would put it in my mouth, I don't care. But as soon as it becomes detached from me, it's no longer part of me, it's other. There's a boundary here, and it's no longer a part of my composition, who I am. Now it becomes disgusting. And nobody ordered ice cream cones with sprinkles of nail clippings yesterday. They don't even offer that on the menu because it's horribly disgusting, right? None of us, we throw those things in the trash. If you ever get a fingernail on you somehow randomly, it's disgusting. If you ever get a piece even of your own hair inside your mouth, it's disgusting, especially when it's in food, and however long it is, that's exponentially more disgusting. Like, we get disgusted by these things that are no longer a part of us anymore. We have those boundaries. This is the psychology of disgust. Disgust marks out boundaries, borders, things that are a part of me, and things that are foreign to me. And things that are foreign to me can evoke disgust. And so this Samaritan, who has the biggest excuse, the biggest boundary of disgust here, the Samaritan Jew boundary of disgust is strong. There is also fear, there is also hatred, of course. But disgust, because of these ritual boundaries of purity, are there. And that's why Jesus tells this story. Because the Samaritan is overcoming a boundary, but the one that he wants to focus on is the boundary that the Jew is also overcoming once he wakes up and is healed. And so Jesus focuses in on these words like compassion, like mercy. Mercy, which is a form of compassion, doing good to someone who is in need of it. Mercy. And that act of mercy is what crosses the boundaries of purity crosses the boundaries of disgust, crosses the boundary of other, and ignores those distinctions. What is happening when you administer CPR to someone? In ordinary life, we don't really go around putting our mouth on other people's mouths, right? That is kind of disgusting. Plus weird and other things, but also disgusting, right? And if you took, whatever reasons we have discussed for physical reasons, for social reasons, for ethical reasons, there are people who disgust us because of the way they live, because of the choices they make, because of who they are, because of what they look like, because of what they smell like, whatever. Disgust. You take all those people into one, and then you have them, on the ground in an emergency situation. What do? Well, we can start with what would Jesus do? He would save that person's life by doing CPR, which, by the way, involves putting your mouth on that person's mouth. This is the thing that Jesus is talking about. Take the person that you think is most disgusting, ethically, religiously, morally, socially, physically, whatever. Put them on the ground in an emergency. What do? Would I put my mouth on that person's mouth to save their life? Would I cross that boundary of disgust and engage in an act of mercy to do good to the one in need? This is what the Samaritan is doing for this man who is left for dead. But the story is, and the question at the end, is kind of about the man. Jesus says, which of these three do you think proved to be a neighbor to the man? So the question is, the man on the ground, which one is his neighbor? Which one is his neighbor? Was it the priest? Was that his neighbor? Was it the Levite? Was that his neighbor? Or was it the Samaritan? And the guy in the story can't even bring himself to say the word Samaritan. He just says, well, it was the one who showed mercy to him. That's right. So Jesus says, as you listen to this story, his audience, you're the man on the ground. You're the one in need. You're the one in an emergency. And there's someone here who's come to help you. Someone who's despised, someone who's rejected, someone who elicits disgust from many. His name is Jesus. But if you give him a chance, you'll realize that that stigma is unfounded. And he does CPR for you and revives you and saves you. He is your Savior. He's your neighbor. Someone whom God commands you to love. And he says that's the way we ought to treat and look at all other people as well. From the eyes of the Samaritan, from the eyes of the man on the ground, both of those directions are important in this story. How do we view the other? We all have people who we find disgusting for one of or several of the reasons I've already mentioned, because of what they are physically, socially, ethically, morally, religiously, whatever. There's people who elicit those reactions. Are we willing to traverse those boundaries through an act of mercy and to show compassion? Can we get over our cultural training and to see people through the eyes of Jesus? To get to a point where your reflex, your natural response is compassion, not distinction. Not to see the differences between people. Not to say, oh, sick, disgusting, gross. Not to say anything but, here's another child of God, just like me. to say, here is my neighbor. Jesus says, who was the neighbor? It was the Samaritan. And then he says, go and do likewise. Be like that Samaritan. Be like the Samaritan. The person who lives in this story by the motto that mercy turns the other into a neighbor. Let's be about that as a church, as Christians, as followers of Christ. Let's stand and sing.